All right, class. Our next knot is called the Alpine butterfly. So, for things like camping and rock climbing and all sorts of tree work, it's very useful to be able to put a safe and secure and non-binding, meaning possible to untie when you're done working that day, loop somewhere on the bight or the middle section of the rope. In a previous video, we showed you how to make a single figure eight and turn that into a double figure eight to safely harness yourself to a rope using an overhand stop knot to terminate or trim or finish off the whole setup. Okay, that's a terminal loop. That's a loop at the end of the line. This, the Alpine butterfly, is the opposite. We're going to put a loop in the middle of the line and leave this end open, leave the standing or bound end open as well. Pretty handy skill. So here's how this works. You have to have at least a little bit of slack on the line, but you don't necessarily have to have the working end of the line free. So you can do this on a rope that you are using for other things while you are using that rope for other things. So again, the Alpine butterfly is a loop on the bight, not at the end, not at the working end. Pretty simple. All right, let's give yourself 3 fingers of sort of wrapping space, and I'll use 3 fingers on this example because, again, this is a pretty chunky rope that has trouble turning tight corners. With something like 550 paracord, where the diameter is much smaller, you can use 2, maybe 1 finger, maybe a tent stake, something like that. But it's just, okay, I'll use 3 fingers. We'll wrap it 1, 2, 3 times. Take the first wrap, put it in the middle of the other 2. Take the new first wrap, past which you brought the original first wrap. Take the new first wrap, pull that up and away from your fingers as you pull your fingers out, and then take that new first wrap and feed it through all 3 of these loops. So this part's a little bit hard to capture easily or effectively on camera, but you just pull it through the other 2 loops, and then you clean or trim this by pulling on the working end and the standing end. Okay, so you've now got a loop through which you can, in a non-binding way, provide a knot for tying things to the middle of a line. This is really helpful for lashing down bulky or unstable loads. So you wrap the load with this, and then with this Alpine butterfly loop, after you do that, then you feed another separate line through that, and you can sort of pulley or lever or winch it very tight. All right, so this is a connection point potentially to another rope. It's called the Alpine butterfly because on the 2 sides of it, we've got this outer sort of wrap here and this outer wrap here. This wrap wraps around the nearest part of the working end, and this wrap here works around the nearest part of the standing end. Those are the Alpine butterfly's wings, and when you pull on the wings, the whole knot, because it's non-binding, just pulls apart, and you're good to go. Notice at no point did I ever have to feed the loose or free or working end of the line through any loops or anything like that. So if this is attached to something and the far end is attached to something, as long as you've got some slack in the line, you can still make the Alpine butterfly effectively. And again, since it's a non-binding knot, this will come apart easily and safely and cleanly at the end of the day when you're done working and you need to coil your rope and finish. Let's do it again. This is the Alpine butterfly, a bight or middle of the line loop. 3 fingers, 3 wraps. 1, 2, 3. Take the first of those 3 wraps that you made, move it to the middle of the other 2. Place it down against your open hand fingers between the other 2. This is the original one. This is now the new innermost loop. Okay, so starting again. 3 fingers, 3 wraps. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. This is the first and oldest of the 3 wraps. Take that, place it in between. Move the camera a bit so you can see. Take the oldest of the 3 wraps, the first, place it in between the other 2. Then take the new innermost wrap, the original second wrap, and pull it up and away from your fingers, and then feed that wrap through the other 2 loops, and pull the whole thing off of your open hand fingers. This is the head of the butterfly that you're forming. This is the loop in the middle of the line that you're forming now. Okay? Then finish or trim or clean the knot by pulling on the standing end and the working end gently. Okay? So this is pretty loose because this is a very thick rope, but here's one wing, here's the other wing. They're the outermost wraps along the standing end, the wrap, the standing end, and wrap and working end, and then the loop in the middle. Now we can clean that. Okay, so from the front, so to speak, it looks like this. We've got a strong, safe, non-binding bight loop. And then when you're done for the day, and it's time to pack up and dismantle your lashings and bindings and riggings and so forth, we just pull this outermost wrap, this wing if you like, on both sides, and the whole thing just sort of falls apart. Again, at no point did I ever have to feed this loop through anything, nor did I have to feed the standing end, or the obligated or tied off to something end, through anything at all. So, even if both ends of this rope are busy doing other stuff, as long as you've got some slack, you can make an Alpine butterfly in the middle and tie things off to it. This is really good for tensioning a tent, for example. This is also part of a so-called trucker's hitch that you use to winch down a load by feeding some other separate line through an Alpine butterfly loop, and then tightening that off with some kind of a ratcheting or slip knot. Okay? So, 3 fingers. I'll repeat this a couple more times so you can practice. 3 fingers, 3 wraps. 1, 2, 3. Move the oldest innermost loop to rest between the other 2 loops on your open hand. Then take the new innermost loop, the one over which you passed the first loop, and pull that up and away from your fingers. And that sort of proto-loop that you've created by pulling it up and away from your fingers is going to become the Alpine butterfly's head. It's going to become the loop on the bight. Take that loop, and as you pull your fingers out, feed the Alpine butterfly loop through the space, that loop, that pair of loops, where your fingers just were. So press it through. And then from the other side, you can pull it out while holding on to the working and standing ends. Pull the loop out, okay? And then these are the two wraps that you left in place. This is that second wrap that you pulled through these other two, and these are the wings of the butterfly. This is its head. So I will gently pull on the standing and the working end until the wings are off to the sides. So they've gone from here to here and left that loop in the middle, okay? There's our loop up top, wings on each side, working end, standing end, and at the end of the day, when I'm finished tying other stuff to this loop and ratcheting stuff down, or you can repeat this, make 3 or 4 or 5 of these, a whole bunch of them on a line with a bunch of slack. You can make a step ladder and put your foot in each one of these loops if you tie them bigger. Works great. Once you're done, then you take the wings and you pull on them until the whole thing just gently comes apart. This is a great, great, fast, easy, useful knot, okay? Alpine butterfly. One or a couple more times just for practice sake. 1, 2, 3 wraps. First innermost loop nestles between the other two. First, second, third wrap nestles between 2 and 3. And then wrap 2, the new leftmost or inner wrap, pull that away from your fingers and pull your fingers out. Push that loop in through the other 2 loops. Pull on the Alpine butterfly's head and the working and standing ends of the rope to clean or trim or finish the knot. Here's the Alpine butterfly's head that we've pulled, and here's wing 1 and 2. Here are wraps 1 and 3. Alpine butterfly head, wraps 1 and 3, wings of the butterfly, working and standing ends. Then put some tension on the line by pulling on the working and the standing ends, and the Alpine butterfly assumes its final form. When we're done, pull on the wings, and the whole thing just kind of gently comes apart. One last time. 3 fingers, 3 wraps. 1, 2, 3. First wrap nestles between wraps 2 and 3. Wrap 2. Pull it away from your fingers. Pull your fingers out of the loop. Feed wrap number 2 where your fingers just vacated. Sometimes it's easier to push through, sometimes it's easier to pull through from the opposite side. To pull the Alpine butterfly's head, your loop on the bight, up and out of the knot. Clean the knot, trim it by pulling on the working and the free ends, working and standing ends, and then pull those apart. Alpine butterfly, a loop in the middle of your line in the bight region. And at no point do we ever have to feed this through anything like in an overhand knot or a figure 8. This is the opposite of that. At no point did we have to feed the end of the standing line through because it's probably already tied to something else big and heavy and immovable. But now we've got a loop that we can do a lot of stuff with in the middle. Make a ladder, make a lashing to tighten stuff down, to winch stuff up, whatever. We've got the 2 wings of the butterfly, the outermost wraps on the working and standing ends, and then when we pull those gently apart, the whole knot binding just comes apart. So we pull that through, and you just feel the whole thing kind of collapse, and then pull the line free. Okay, a non-binding bight loop knot called the Alpine butterfly.